What's up guys, and welcome back. In this session we are going to create our first data binding to a view model. We're using ReactiveUI. The example gonna be a page that has 3 sliders. A slider for the red color, slider for blue, and another one for green. Whenever I change the value of any of these sliders, I'm going to generate a color to a proxy view inside this page using data binding and ReactiveUI. So let's get started. First of all, I'm going to create 2 new folders. The first one, I'm going to call it ViewModels, and another one called Pages, which is the views. Now, let's create a very basic page, content page, call it colors demo page. Okay, very nice. Here we can use this label to put it, give it a margin of 3. The text is red, and here another slider. Minimum value is 0, maximum value is 255, which is, you know, in the red, green, blue, the system of colors, like red has a minimum value of 0 and a maximum value of 255, blue in addition to this, and the green as well. So when I set, like for example, I set the red to 255, green to 0, blue to 0, so the generated color gonna be pure red. And we can make these 3 values to generate all the color that we have in the color system within any device. So the first slider, minimum, and the value is equals to, here we have to bind to a variable, but for now I'm going to give it a 10. Here, red, green, and blue. Need to set a little margin here. Okay, and at the end I'm going to create a boxy view, vertical options, fill and expand, margin equals 10. Okay, that's it. Very basic page. Now let's move to the view models folder and create our first view model with ReactiveUI. I'm going to call it colors demo view model. Okay, public. Now, in a previous video about data binding, we have created this view model. As you have seen here, I have implemented the iNotify property change, and we have used this event to notify the UI whenever any change happen in the view model to reflect that to the user interface. Okay, now ReactiveUI takes care of all the things for us. We can simply invoke the existing methods and inherit from an existing classes. So ReactiveUI gives us a class called ReactiveObject. Okay, here we have a lot of functions that we are going to discover during this course, but today we are going to use one of them, which is to implement this functionality but in a more gentle way. Okay, first I'm going to create a region just to organize my code. Properties. Here I have private, integer, red, public, integer, red, get, red value, and set. Here I need to set a new value for red if the new value is different than the old one, and invoke the property change event to notify the UI about this change. But here I'm going to use this function called this.rise and set if changed, which is a method provided by ReactiveUI, and it takes a reference parameter red and we give it the new value. Here what this function does actually, it takes this reference parameter and the new value, which is the value parameter of the set, and it compares the new value with the old one. If it changed, then it sets this value to this, and then it tries the property changed event to notify the UI about that change. It's very simple and easy to use. Now let's create another one for green, public integer green, set this dot rise and set if changed green and the value. The last one is blue, public integer blue, this dot rise and set if changed ref blue and value. Okay. Now in the UI we can bind the value of each slider to these properties as a two-way data binding. When I change the value of the slider, this property got affected, and vice versa. Now, the last property I want to create is the color property that's going to be generated when any of these properties changed. So, it's going to be also a read-only property, background color. Let's call it background color, and here get the value of it is color.from RGB. Sorry, I think I have imported system.drawing instead of Xamarin.Forms. Now from RGB, okay, this function generates a color for us from red, green, and blue values. So now we can pass the red, green, and blue. Now the last thing we want to do, as you can see here, this value, the value of this property changes whenever any of this changes. But there is no notification mechanism here when this property gets a new value to notify the UI about this change, because we set the value of this from these properties. So we need to raise the property change event for the background color property whenever we set any new value to one of these properties. So we can do this by rise property changed. We have this function. This function simply just invoke this function, invoke this event for us. And this event takes the name of the property we want to notify the UI about it. So the name of it is name of background color. So when we set any new value to red, it's gonna immediately notifies the UI about even background color has been changed. We can copy it and paste it here and here as well. Okay, now we can go to the UI and set the binding context for the page to a new instance of colors demo view model. Now, content page dot resources resource dictionary, and here simply first let's import the namespace ViewModels, call it ViewModels, okay, and here we can use VM colors demo ViewModel, give it a key, colors demo ViewModel, and let the value of this key to the binding context property of the content page. Static resource colors demo ViewModel. Okay, nice. Here you can simply binding to the red property and mood two-way. By default, the binding mood for the value property of slider is two-way, but it's good to make things more clear when we set this like this. And binding to green mood equals two-way, and this is as well to blue mood equals two-way. The last property to bind to is the background color of the boxy view. Binding to background color, and by default it's a one-way data binding. Let me define it one-way. Okay, we are ready. Now let's set the main page for the application, the colors demo page, colors demo page, and let's test that. Okay, so let's change the value of the red. That's cool. Green and blue. Wow, that's so nice. And if you look back to the code, it's pretty clear and very short as well. You don't have to write all of this way. Always do the comparing, set the value, and invoke the property changed event. Here everything's ready for you. Gentle and awesome. Okay, that was the tutorial of the day. In the next video we are going to see how we can make something similar to this but using observables, and see the advantages of that and how you can use that nice functionality in Reactive UI. Thank you for watching.